The Holocaust by Group A. National Socialist German Workers' Party was the political party of the mass movement known as National Socialism. It was also known as the Nazis' Party. The leader was Adolf Hitler, and when the group first came to Germany, they were totalitarian. As years passed, more and more people joined the group. After World War I was when the group was created. Soon after Hitler became the leader, he spent 6 months in jail and failed the Beer Hall Putsch. He aspired to suspend civil liberties and the Constitution. A lot of people attended his speeches from his group. The party led Germany into World War II, the Holocaust, and other crimes. When Hitler committed suicide, 12 Nazi leaders were killed, 6 were put in jail, and 3 were left free.
The SS St. Louis journey was actually a Nazi propaganda ploy to make people think that nobody wanted the Jews. It was set up to send the refugees to Cuba, where corrupt Cuban officials would deny them access to the port. After the Jews were denied in Cuba, they headed towards the U.S., where the Coast Guard warned them off, and President Roosevelt said that they could not accept them because of refugee quotas, which only let certain numbers of refugees into the U.S. each year. Nearly 2 months after the journey began, the Jews were finally allowed to land in Holland, where they were then distributed between France, Great Britain, Belgium, and Holland. However, a couple months later, the Nazis invaded Poland and World War II began.
Kristallnacht was the night of broken glass and occurred on November 9th and 10th, 1938. Nazis and civilians destroyed over 500 homes, 177 synagogues, and 7,500 Jewish businesses. Herschel Greenspan attempted to kill the German Prime Minister to France in Paris, but missed and shot Ernst von Rath instead. This resulted in a wave of anti-Semitism brought up by the government through the use of propaganda, culminating with the attacks on Kristallnacht and ultimately the Holocaust. When the attacks were finished, there were at least 90 Jews dead, 30,000 Jewish men in labor camps, prisons, or protective custody. 2 days later, the laws were made to punish the Jewish people, such as disallowing them from owning stores, enjoying public entertainment, and even prohibiting driving.
Sturmabteilung, also known as the SA, was a German paramilitary organization attached to the Nazi Party, protected Nazi meetings and provided intimidation. They also protected Hitler and destroyed organizations like newspapers and unions. They also put down riots and revolts and uprisings with force. By 1933, they had about 2 million members, and the leader was eventually caught and killed by the SS.
Schutzstaffel was the personal bodyguard for Hitler. He made the thing, and it was a part of the SA until Hitler had their leader assassinated. They ran the camps. This picture is the flag on the first slide, and at the Nuremberg Trials, they're branded a criminal organization. And here is Hitler with other SS members.
Reinhard Heydrich and Adolf Eichmann established the Judenreich shortly after the Polish invasion in 1939. The Judenreich is a Jewish council, a group of 24 men, usually rabbis, made to maintain order inside the ghettos. They were responsible for services such as education, sanitation, and policing. They were also often targeted by the residents for their hatred of the Nazis because they believed the Judenreich was collaborating with the Nazis for supporting their laws. The Judenreich would later be in charge of giving lists of the Nazis who they thought would be capable workers. Anyone not on this list would be sent to a concentration camp, which caused the Judenreich to feel responsible for the deaths because many who went to concentration camps were killed.
In early 1942, the Jews were sent to the ghetto in Warsaw. Starting in July that year, 5,000 Jews a day were sent to the Treblinka death camp. In the ghetto, 150,000 more Jews died from starvation, illness, or execution. By 1943, most of the Jews were gone. In the ghetto, the Nazis established the Judenrat, which was created to maintain order and communicate between the Jews and the Nazis. However, the Jews lost trust in this council after a while and formed the Jewish Fighting Organization. The JFO later took over the council. As the Jews were sent to Treblinka, Heinrich Himmler devised a plan to exterminate the ghetto by April 20th as a birthday gift to Hitler. The Nazis invaded Warsaw on April 19th. However, the Jews fought back. Over the next month, the Nazis continued to attack. Jews tried to hide but were unsuccessful. On May 8th, the Nazis captured the JFO headquarters. By May 16th, the battle in Warsaw ghetto officially ended. Only about 100 Jews survived.
The Gestapo was the Nazi regiment's secret state police that existed in German-held European territory during 1933 to 1945. The Gestapo had no civil restraints to observe and carrying out its duties, so they didn't have any rules they had to follow. And the Gestapo police were also part of the death squads that followed behind the German army as it invaded Poland and Russia.
Gypsies, also known as Roma, are people from northern India that moved to southern Asia and Europe. Heinrich Himmler, who was also on Hitler's inner circle, decided that gypsies should be gone. He sent them to ghettos, death camps, and concentration camps. At Auschwitz, about 3,000 gypsies were killed on August of 1942. By the end of the Holocaust, 250,000 to 1.5 million gypsies were killed. To the right is an image of a gypsy ghetto. These two images are pictures of gypsies in Auschwitz on the right and in a death camp on the left.
In death camps, the German army compelled mostly Jews, gypsies, gays, political prisoners, and prisoners of war to engage in hard labor camps and factories. Some Jews were gassed upon arrival, and some were selected for labor. Jews were harassed and beaten, not fed enough, epidemics spread, and typhus was a common problem. Jews worked in German factories in Poland and in ghetto workshops. They often starved because of the lack of wages. They worked for the German military effort, and Jewish men had to operate in gas chambers and in crematories. Some men and women were selected for medical experiments. Women were forced into prostitution, and most labor workers died in death camps and did not survive until liberation.
Bergen-Belsen was a concentration camp in World War II. The inmates were subject to starvation and brutal treatment by guards. Joseph Kramer became commander, and the conditions became worse. The camp held over 10 times more than what it was meant to hold. A very harmful disease known as typhus hit hard and killed off many inmates. The British captured the camp, and Joseph Kramer was later executed.
The Ravensbrück was a Nazi women concentration camp. It was 56 miles north of Berlin, Germany. The first prisoners arrived in 1939. By 1944, the camp had 26,700 female prisoners. Women were subjected to medical experimentation. A gas chamber was added in 1945. The prisoners were sold sort of like slaves, and 50,000 inmates died there.
Auschwitz was the largest concentration camp of World War II. It was located in Poland near railroads, which would make for an easy transportation of the Jews. There were 3 branches of Auschwitz. There was Auschwitz I, which was a prison camp, Auschwitz II, which was an extermination camp, and Auschwitz III, which was a labor camp. Women, elderly, children, and disabled people were sent straight to extermination camps, but healthy men were sent to labor camps for forced labor.
The Nuremberg Trials were trials put on by the Nazis during 1945 to 1946. Nazis were tried for their war crimes against peace, crimes against war, and crimes against humanity. 128 were given lengthy sentences, 24 were executed, and 35 were acquitted. 24 high-ranking Nazis were convicted. 12 of them were sentenced to death, and 12 were sentenced to life in prison.